Welcome to another Teacher Tobin tutorial. Today's tutorial is designed to help guitarists who know the 12-bar blues but want to dip their toes into jazz and playing jazz, and this is something I've wanted to do myself. I love listening to jazz, Weather Report, Chick Corea, Dave Brubeck, Sonny Rollins, Charles Mingus, all that kind of stuff. I love it, and I would love to be able to play like that one day. So I feel quite confident with things like the blues and most rock, but they're just getting boring for me now, and I really would like to sort of expand my vocabulary. So I want to share some tips with you, because over the last couple of days I've been trying to tackle this myself. So I knew that 12-bar blues is a really great way of dipping, sort of having a template which you can build upon, and I know that the blues and jazz are intrinsically linked together. So I did a bit of research, and jazzresource.com came up with a 12-bar blues pattern that was more jazz orientated. So it's got more secondary dominance in there, and more passing chords and more color. And I took that, put it into an app called iReal Pro, which I have on my phone and iPad, and it's a fantastic accompaniment app. You can add your own chord charts. It's really super amazing, and it's worth every part of the asking price for it. Also, you can download lots of jazz standards from the Real Book kind of Pro series, and from their forums, all that kind of stuff. So it's super useful. If you haven't already got that app, definitely get it. So I put the chord progression that I found on jazzresource.com into that, played along with it, got comfortable playing in the key of C. My guitar's tuned a half step down, so I've got the capital on the first fret. You can play along with me in C. So I'm going to play this chord progression first without saying anything over the top, and then I'll play it again and tell you what the chords are. So bar 1. C seventh, F seventh, back to C seventh, G minor seventh, C seventh, F seventh, F sharp diminished seventh, C seventh, E minor seventh, A seventh, D minor seventh, G seventh, C seventh, A seventh, D minor seventh, and G seventh. Alright, so I suggest playing that along until that becomes comfortable, or certainly in key of C. You can play all of your blues licks over the top of that, pentatonics and blues scales work over that too. Get comfortable with that, so that instead of playing a normal 12-bar blues pattern, you're playing that instead. That's my suggestion to you, so you get super comfortable with it. And that's something I've had to sort of deprogram myself to do a little bit. So instead of just playing the 12-bar boring blues, I'm going to play that jazzy version instead now. But I also wanted to make it sound a bit more jazzy, quite frankly. And I knew a little bit about chords to be dangerous. So when I was looking at those C7th chords, I'm thinking, well, does that need to stay a C7th, or can it be a C9th or C13th? And that instantly sounds more jazzy. You've got more colour. So I'll put the new chord progression up here. And this is just an idea. This is just a way of enhancing that last one to make it a bit more jazzy sounding. So things like the F sharp diminished seventh. You might want to play kind of. I play it like with a couple on the first fret, or like a C seventh with my second finger on the fifth string of the fourth fret. So that's how I play it. It sounds a bit fuller than the one that's in the chord chart. And maybe just a little run up the neck, a diminished run. And what I'll be doing is looking at each chord and thinking, what colours and extensions can I put in there? And for example, that D minor seventh, I see in a lot of the chord charts from the iReal Pro that a flat 5 is used a lot. So maybe I flatten the 5th degree of the scale. So D, the 5th note in the scale. If I flatten it, I've got a D minor 7th flat 5, and then the G 7th. Maybe I sharpen the 5th note to have that augmented sound. So G7 sharp 5, and it just leads on to the next chord really nicely. And then maybe in the C major 7th, I have the relative minor, A minor 7th of D minor 7th flat 5, G 7th sharp 5, and that just gives me more tonal variations for movement and colour. And I can still kind of play around with the idea of major and minor, which is characteristic of the blues, but just having more of a jazz vocabulary. So maybe if I was going to try another variation, I might try something starting with C ninth with that 13th. Something like that, yeah, and it's instantly sounding more jazz. And on my right hand, I'm sort of using a little claw technique where I pull up multiple strings at the same time rather than just strumming. I think it lends itself to this kind of style. So the G7 sharp 5, I might play like that. So use that. I'm not playing this string in that in the C major 7th case. A minor 7th, flat, D minor 7th, flat 5. So I'm just using those 3 fingers just to pull up each time, and that gives it a nice sort of punchy quality. Lets it ring out a little bit. Okay, let me know if this has been any help to you whatsoever. Hopefully it's allowed you to see a little door into jazz, and I'm right at the beginning stages myself, so I want to keep documenting this journey, and I'll continue to use this iReal Pro app to explore jazz and the chord charts and try to get my head around the theory of it, how it's working. Okay, take care. Let me know if it's been useful for you. All right.